Готово.
Well, guys, I'm back. Can you please let me know if you hear me? Well, now let's check if you can hear the recording. Please let me know if you hear the recording. No recording? No recording still? So you can hear me, but you cannot hear the recording. All right, so you can hear me, but you cannot hear the recording. Uh-oh. Now? Can you hear it now? No sound again. Well, all right. Let me, guys, let me a couple of minutes. I will think what we can do. Yeah. Guys, I think that the audio for this particular exercise I cannot reach for now. Let us change the slide and we will look at this one. This is slightly different. This is part 4. And this time we are going to complete the notes. All right. So part 4 is about completion the notes. And we do not forget that all questions are presented at the same. I mean, you do not have some extra time for looking at other questions. So let's try to listen at least these things. Okay. Guys, let me know if you can hear that, right? Give me a second.
Recording 46. You hear someone talking about creating.
Can you hear that?
First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Can you hear now? All right, good. Thanks to God. Right, so these are the questions. So as usually, you have some time to look at the questions, right? Please do not forget, part 4 is the most challenging part in listening. First, it is the lecture. It's the lecture of a different field. It can be any field, or you can just imagine. It can be anthropology, it can be biology, it can be history, it can be all sorts of lectures, right? But it does not mean that you should be professional in those areas. Absolutely not. So please listen carefully. Interesting thing is that most of the answers are simple questions. Let's say B2, B1, B2 level. So concentrate on something easy. And do not forget that you should know how many words we need to write. So they say write no more than 2 words. All right. Okay, I guess we can start now.
Questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Hello, everyone. You've all been given an assignment for your sociology course, which will involve giving a presentation to the rest of the group. And so today, I'm going to be giving you a few tips on how to prepare your presentations. This should help you with your current assignment, but a lot of the principles I'll be putting across will be general principles which will, of course, help you with all your future presentations. So first of all, the most important thing to consider is your audience. And in this instance, your audience are the other students in your group. There are 3 points to bear in mind. Firstly, you need to ask yourself what they need to know. Secondly, It's useful to consider whether they'll be supportive or not. And thirdly, will it be a small group, say 3 or 4, a moderate gathering of 20 or so people, as for your current assignment, or will there be hundreds of people? Having said all that, what I'm about to tell you will apply equally to any audience. So, how do you structure your presentation? Right at the beginning, you should tell them something that forces them to pay attention. This could be something surprising or even shocking, but it needs to be relevant. After that, you need a list of items or topics showing them what you'll be covering, rather like an agenda. And then the main part of the presentation will follow. This main part will be the detailed information you'll be presenting and could include facts, statistics, personal experiences, etc. After this, you should summarize what you've presented and close with what I call next steps. For this assignment, you could simply point the group to other sociology reference material. In other cases, you may want to suggest some actions that people can take. Now, what about the design of the slides for your laptop? Well, the important thing here is to be consistent. You need to have the same type of font and use the same color and size for the same elements. For example, all headers need to look the same. All bullet points need to be presented in the same way. And don't just stick to words. Bring the presentation to life by adding graphics. These could be in several forms, such as pictures. Recording 46. Statistics, same type of font, and use the same color and size for the same elements. For example, all headers need to look the same. All bullet points need to be presented in the same way. And don't just stick to words. Bring the presentation to life by adding graphics. These could be in several forms, such as pictures, flowcharts, diagrams, histograms, and so on. And so let's move on now to presenting. You have your presentation prepared and you're ready to start. Well, it's important to give a good impression from the start. So take 3 deep breaths, look at the audience, no matter how frightening they may be, and be enthusiastic and energetic. As you go through the presentation, remember to provide some variety in the way you speak. So, for example, you can talk fairly rapidly for information that may be familiar, but then slow down for more unfamiliar sections. And change your tone as you speak. Don't keep it at the same level all the way through. As I mentioned, look at your audience. A good tip is to pick people out and look at them for around 5 seconds. Not looking at the audience gives the impression that you're either not interested in them or terrified of them. Looking too long at one particular person may make them feel rather uncomfortable. There may be points in your presentation that you want your audience to really absorb. And in order to make important points stand out, you may consider adding silence right after these. It will give people time to reflect on what you've just said. Also, you may be presenting complicated ideas or technical details, but try to keep everything as simple as possible. Use simple words and as few as possible. And be clear. If you say something like, "This appears to be," it implies uncertainty. So using weak verbs such as appears, seems, could be, etc., needs to be avoided. I'll just finish off with a few thoughts on questions and interruptions from the audience. You may choose to invite questions from the audience as you go, or ask them to wait until the end. Either way, questions should be encouraged, as it provides you with some feedback on how interested the audience is and how well they're understanding you. When a question is asked, you need to provide an answer that is as accurate as possible. So initially, my tip is to repeat it. This will ensure you have heard it correctly and will give you a few seconds to gather your thoughts. Interruptions, on the other hand, can be unwelcome, and you may get them for a variety of reasons. It's likely, however, that there's something in your presentation that's unclear or confusing. So my advice is to reduce problems by reading through your presentation beforehand and predicting potential points which could cause interruptions. You may then want to change that part of your presentation, or at least you will be prepared if someone does interrupt you. Now, do you have any questions?
All right, this is the end of this part. Well, guys, can I ask you to share your answers to the chat? Oh, okay, let us cut the long story short, and let me just show the answers so that you can check them yourself this time. All right. These are the answers. Please check it. And I guess, yeah, nice that you can do it very quickly. Thank you. Well, I guess we have a chance to go back to the audio which we couldn't hear and try to do this exercise as well. So these are the answers. You can see them now. Okay, so I hope everyone could do well. So we are just back to the exercise where we have 6 questions. So this time on the A, B, C will be your answers. And I would like you to type them immediately to the chat once you get the answer.
Recording 61. You will hear 2 students discussing their assignments. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26.
Hi, Mike. How's it going? Actually, I was up last night with an assignment, so yeah, I'm tired, but I guess we'd better sort this presentation out. Well, we've done enough background reading, but I think we need to organise exactly what we're going to say about biofuels during the presentation and the order. I thought we could start by asking our audience what car engines were first designed to run on, fossil fuels or biofuels. Nice idea. Yes, when most people think about cars and fuel, they think about all the carbon dioxide that's produced, but they don't realise that that wasn't always the case. You're probably right.
The earliest car engines ran on fuel made from corn and peanut oil, didn't they?
Yes. The manufacturers used the corn and peanut oil and turned them into a kind of very pure alcohol.
Do you mean ethanol?
Yes. In fact, most biofuels are still based on ethanol. Actually, I've got some notes here about the process of turning plant matter into ethanol, the chemical reactions and the fermentation stages. And
It's interesting. The other students would appreciate it, but different biofuels use different processes. And if we give a general description, there's a risk we'll get it wrong, and then the tutor might mark us down. I'd rather we focus on the environmental issues.
fair enough. So the main plants that are used for biofuel production now are sugarcane, corn,
And canola. Of all of them, canola is probably the least harmful because machines that use it don't produce as much carbon monoxide.
Sugarcane seems to be controversial. It doesn't require as much fertilizer as corn does to grow, but when they burn the sugarcane fields, that releases loads of greenhouse gases.
Yes, but some critics have suggested that the production of corn ethanol uses up more fossil fuel energy than the biofuel energy it eventually produces. For that reason, I'd say it was more harmful to the environment.
I see what you mean. You're probably right. It's interesting how everyone saw the biofuel industry as the answer to our energy problems, but in some ways, biofuels have created new problems.
Well, in the USA, I wouldn't say that farmers are having problems. The biofuel industry for them has turned out to be really profitable.
I think, though, that even in the USA, ethanol is still only used as an additive to gasoline or petrol. The problem is that it still has to be transported by trucks or rail because they haven't built any pipelines to move it. Once they do, it'll be cheaper and the industry might move forward.
That'll have to happen one day. At least the government are in favour of biofuel development.
Yes, but Brazil's probably in the lead as far as biofuels are concerned. They've got to the point where they don't need to import any oil now.
Which is great. And the industry in Brazil employs a huge number of people. But is it sustainable? I mean, as the population grows and there are more vehicles on the roads and there's more machinery, surely they can't depend so much on sugarcane. At some point, there has to be a limit on how much land can be used for sugarcane production. Certainly, if you want to preserve natural habitats and native wildlife.
I think that whatever problems Brazil's facing now, the same will be true for any country. You have to weigh up the pros and cons.
Well, we probably won't see an increase in biofuel use. I mean, they won't replace fossil fuels until we can find ways to produce them cheaply and quickly and with less cost to the environment.
Making sure they require minimal energy to produce.
Exactly. And in a way, that means they have to cost less than fossil fuels, certainly when you're filling up your car.
Yes, and whatever other kind of engines use fossil fuels at the moment.
All right. Well, can you share the answers? I hope you typed them while listening. Okay. So let's have a look at correct answers, and then you will be able to check them, to compare them with your own answers, right? Okay, so it's B for 21. It is C for 22. It is B for 23. It is A for 24. It is C for 25, and it is C for 26. Can see your answers. Okay, all right. Well, guys, I guess one thing I should do one more time. Maybe you haven't had enough time to check your answers for the previous audio. Let us go there. Okay. So one more time. Question 31. The correct answer is supportive. Question 32. Pay attention. Question 33. Next steps. Question 34. Consistent. Question 35, graphics. Question 36, tone. Question 37, silence or silence or silences. All three options are okay. Question 38, weak verbs. 39, repeat it. And the last one, predicting. So these are the answers for the last part, right? Okay. Well, thank you very much for your being with me today. I hope you enjoyed that anyway, right? Let me say goodbye to everyone and enjoy your time, right? Enjoy English. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Global hunger. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.